So Christen Ager-Hanssen, I DM'd him on X a few months ago. But yeah, what happened? So he was CEO of
nChain.
nChain, right?
Yep.
And now it's Stefan, but he stepped
Yep.
down and said Craig's not Satoshi. I've seen fraud, etc., etc.
Yep.
What's your take on what happened? Because that I mean, to me seems like quite a big event. Like, the
Yes.
CEO of Craig's company. I don't know, Craig's chief. Well, he was chief science or
Yeah.
something,
There's been
or
a lot of reorganization over the last
he's now
few
like an
months on
advisor
that
or a
front. Yep.
consultant or something. But
Yep.
surely, the critics would point at that and go, "Hey, look, there's another red flag."
Sure. Um. So it's interesting. Christen, if you go into his history, I would encourage everybody look at the history of Christen Ager-Hanssen. Like he's not allowed in Sweden anymore, as far as I understand it. Like maybe raided the Swedish pension fund, like the national one. All kinds of history of like corporate raider kind of behavior. He'll even tell you as much. Like, oh yeah, I show up at places and I gut them. He's admitted he hires ex CIA and ex Mossad agents to undermine people and these kind of things. So like Kristen, um, not just a nice guy who accidentally discovered there was a little bit of malfeasances going on and became a whistleblower the way that he's sort of shown. He's trying to make the case that, oh my goodness, I stumbled upon this and I'm such a good person that I let the world know. The reality is he's when he's typical Christen Ager-Hanssen is him talking about drinking blood out of skulls because he's a Viking and that's how he does business. And so um, we should take him at his word when he's being pompous about it. So as for what he saw and what he leaked and stuff, I don't really know. Like nChain is a weird black box of a place. They have like 300 employees, and I know who maybe six of them are. I don't know how they keep them all hidden or what they're all doing or any of that. So nChain is a very weird organization by my estimation. But um, ultimately, the stuff that leaked, it was hard to tell what was what. So there was the email from Calvin being real firm with Craig, like, look, I want you to sign. Here's how you win this thing. I'm tired of playing games. Like game time is over. Like let's go win this thing. Like please stop messing with my stuff essentially. So it shows a little bit of strain in that relationship. I think also shows there's not some kind of master plan, like evil cabal plan between Calvin and Craig. Like it literally was Calvin being very frank about like, look, man, I've trusted you and I've been your best friend. So like, let's get this done. Same thing with Stefan, like kind of showed some of Stefan's frustration with Craig and Calvin in the family office. And so like, I think it showed actually that they're real people that have real relationships and they're not in on some triad grift of, hey, let's just come up with this giant scam and here's how we're going to win and all this stuff. Like shows that they've got a lot of discord between each other too, which actually I find a little bit comforting that they're just people that believe in an idea and they're making the relationships work because they believe in the idea, but ultimately the relationships are strained because that's people fighting in a business war together. But as for the stuff that leaked about Craig, um I don't really know what to make of it because I can't validate what it was that he showed. Now some of the stuff from Christen was like the latex file format of the Bitcoin white paper, and he's saying, well, why would Satoshi have to Google what was the white paper's format in this system and some of these other things. And so I think a lot of it is even more hearsay, which is the thing we need the least in regards to Craig. And then secondarily, there's like this problem with why was it ever Christen? Like, how did Christen noodle his way into this whole thing? Like, I personally found that all very weird. Like when he showed up, it was very weird. In fact, he sort of debuted into the community on my show, and I was totally ignorant to even who he was until about 2 hours before he popped on my show. He just was this guy tangled up with Kyle Roche, and I was like, okay, cool. I know Kyle. I sat in court with him for 2 months. Let's hear Christen's side of the story. And then all of a sudden, Christen's around more, and I'm like, all right, like who is this guy? And so it's just one more weird character, again, with like CIA and Mossad connections, who ultimately is there to undermine Craig, which is like, there's 50 of those people at this point who, oh yeah, no, here, I'm this expert. Craig's definitely not Satoshi. It's all a fraud. And it's like, okay, that is the easiest thing to say on the internet if you're in the blockchain space. Like, it costs no political capital to say Craig is a fraud. And so he's just one more part of that chorus. And ultimately, um, I'd be very curious to do a real deep audit on where he really came from and how this all came about, because it's just as fishy as every other sort of weird, shadowy figure with weird finances and a weird background that ultimately is there and thinks it's really important to prove that Craig isn't Satoshi. So that's my take on that whole thing.